I have to be honest with you. When I first walked into the studio today and saw the source material sitting on the desk, I genuinely thought there had been a mix-up in the mailroom.
It does happen.
I actually double-checked the tracking number. I was sure of it.
But I have a feeling this wasn't a mistake.
Well, let me take the picture for you. I am looking at a book called DrillMaster's Cadet Leadership Manual. The author is John K. Marshall, and the cover is stark.
Very stark.
Yeah, we're talking silhouettes of soldiers, rifles, flags. It looks like a technical manual you'd find in a high school JROTC supply closet or, a military academy basement.
Right.
My first thought was, okay, are we spending the next 40 minutes learning how to pivot left and salute properly?
Yeah.
This is a deep dive into the geometry of walking.
It certainly presents itself that way. And if you were to just flip through the middle chapters, looking at the diagrams of foot placement and rifle angles, it looks exactly like a choreography textbook. But that is the trap.
That's exactly what it is. It's a total trap. Because once I actually started reading the intro and really digging into the philosophy sections, I realized this isn't a book about marching. I mean, it is, but that's just the delivery mechanism. This is effectively a stealth philosophy book. It's a treatise on human behavior, psychology, and organizational management disguised as a drill manual.
That is the perfect way to frame it. It's the surprise inside the manual. The author, John K. Marshall, is very explicit early on that drill is a leadership laboratory.
Yeah.
The premise isn't just about getting people to walk in a straight line. It's about using that rigid, physical structure to reveal character, discipline, and ego faster than almost any other method available to a mentor.
It's the speed of the revelation that really caught my attention.
Okay.
The text argues that the drill pad, the parade deck, exposes flaws instantly. In a corporate office, you can hide poor leadership behind emails or Zoom calls for months. You can hide behind a closed door, but you can't hide when you're standing in front of 30 people trying to move them from point A to point B.
Precisely. There is nowhere to hide. And the stakes are incredibly high, which is something we often miss when we see cadets marching in a parade. We think it's just pageantry.
Yes, just for show.
We think it's just a show. But the manual opens with a very heavy concept that sets the tone for everything else. Tradition without education becomes ritual without meaning.
That line stuck me cold. Ritual without meaning.
It's a profound warning. It means if you don't understand the why, the philosophy behind the movement, the how eventually falls apart, you end up with imitation.
Empty gesture.
You end up with empty gestures. So our mission for this deep dive is to decode this. We're going to strip away the uniforms and the rifles and look at how this military framework applies to anyone trying to lead a team, whether that's in a corporate boardroom, a classroom, or even a family.
We're looking at what we call the learner profile today. We want to extract those actionable principles about authority, how do you feedback without being a jerk, and how to build a culture that lasts. So let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
I want to start with the big word that hangs over this entire text. Discipline. I feel like in modern culture, discipline has a massive PR problem.
It really does.
When I hear the word, I think of punishment. I think of a principal's office. I think of someone yelling at me to control my behavior. It feels restrictive. But this manual seems to flip that definition on its head.
It does. It fundamentally redefines discipline. The manual argues that society routinely misunderstands discipline as control imposed from above.
Yeah.
That's the Hollywood version, the drill sergeant screaming in your face until you comply out of fear. Marshall argues that true discipline is actually alignment.
Alignment. That feels gentler, or at least more mechanical.
It's more objective. Think about the wheels on your car. If they are out of alignment, they aren't bad or immoral.
No, they're just not working right.
They're just fighting the direction of the vehicle. Marshall argues that discipline is the voluntary alignment of the individual with a shared standard.
Voluntary is the key word there.
Exactly. This removes the adversarial dynamic. It's not me versus you. It's not the leader suppressing the follower. It is the voluntary alignment of the individual with the group's goal. When a cadet marches, they aren't submitting to the person shouting commands. They are submitting to the standard of the group.
So if I'm a leader using this framework, I'm not forcing you to do what I want because I'm the boss.
No.
I'm asking you to align with what we agreed upon, the standard.
Exactly. And that changes the emotional temperature of leadership completely. It becomes objective, not subjective.
It's not about me.
It's not about my ego. It's about the standard. And this leads to the manual's defense of why we even do drill in the first place, because there is this pervasive idea that drill is outdated, right?
Yeah.
That it's basically Napoleonic LR painting.
Right. I mean, let's be real. It's 2026. We have drones. We have cyber warfare. Why do we need to know how to turn left in unison? It seems like a waste of time.
The manual anticipates that objection. It calls the practice behavioral conditioning.
Okay.
It lists 4 specific outcomes that have nothing to do with combat tactics and everything to do with mindset. The first is response to authority.
Which sounds like obedience. It sounds a little scary.
It sounds like it, but the manual clarifies this isn't about blind obedience where you jump off a bridge because I said so.
Huh.
It's about creating readiness. It asks, can you process a command and execute it immediately without an emotional negotiation?
Emotional negotiation. I love that phrase. I feel like I do that with my alarm clock every morning.
Oh, absolutely.
If I really have to get up, maybe just 5 more minutes.
We'll all do it. It's human nature. We receive a stimulus and we want to debate it internally. Do I feel like doing this? Is this fair? Do I like the tone you used? But in a high-stakes environment, whether that's a battlefield or a crisis in a hospital ER, you can't have that lag time.
There's no time.
You need to bypass the negotiation.
So drill is basically wiring the brain to close that gap. Stimulus, response, no debate.
Correct. The second outcome is control under pressure. Remember, drill is performed in public. You are being watched. If you have an itch on your nose, you can't scratch it. If a fly lands on your eyelid, you don't swat it. If the sun is in your eyes, you don't squint.
That sounds like torture.
Genuinely. It feels like it at first. But think about the transferable skill. If you can control your own physical impulse to scratch your nose because the standard demands stillness, you are building the neural pathways to control your temper during a crisis meeting.
Wow. That is a massive leadership trait. Emotional composure starts with physical composure.
Exactly. If you can't control your hands, you can't control your team. The third outcome is synchronization, learning that your personal skill is only valuable if it serves the group's coherence.
Right.
You might be the fastest marcher in the world, but if you march faster than the group, you've broken the formation, you failed.
That's the anti-hero message. Being the star destroys the unit.
It does. And the fourth is respect for process. It teaches that the outcome matters, but how you get there matters more. You can't shortcut a pivot. You either do the steps or you don't. There is no good enough.
And this brings us to that concept of the leadership filter. The manual suggests that if you put a leader on the drill pad, you see their true colors instantly.
Instantly. It acts as a diagnostic tool. The manual lists these specific behaviors to watch for.
Like what?
Insecure leaders yell because they think volume equals authority. Unprepared leaders improvise because they don't actually know the regulation. They just wing it.
They make it up as they go.
And ego-driven leaders use correction to humiliate people, to make an example of them.
That was my big aha
Yeah.
moment reading this. Drill doesn't create leadership, it reveals it.
Yes.
It strips away all the corporate buzzwords and hiding spots. You're just there in front of the formation, and either you know what you're doing or you don't.
And that vulnerability is why so many people resist it. It exposes them. If you are a fraud, the parade deck will announce it to everyone within 5 minutes.
So if we accept that this is a system for revealing character, we have to talk about the structure. The manual gets really specific about categorizing drill. It's not just one big bucket of marching.
This is the architecture of the system. The analyst in me loves this part because it's about taxonomy. Marshall insists that confusion here causes organizational failure. He breaks it down into 3 distinct categories: regulation, ceremonial, and exhibition.
Let's break those down, because I think for the average person, marching is just marching. Regulation drill is the foundation, right?
Yes. Regulation drill answers the question, can this unit function? Its purpose is training and discipline. It teaches the body to respond to command.
This is the nuts and bolts.
The nuts and bolts. And the key takeaway here is that regulation drill removes ambiguity. Everyone is held to the same published standard. It establishes fairness.
It's the baseline. If we can't even agree on how to stand at attention, we can't move forward.
Correct. Then you have ceremonial drill.
Okay.
This is where people often get confused. They think ceremonial drill is just sharper regulation drill. But the manual makes a crucial distinction. The purpose here is honor and symbolism. It answers the question, can this unit represent its institution with dignity?
So this is funerals, wreath laying, color guards.
Exactly. And the manual points out that the movements are different. They are often slower, more deliberate. The why is crucial here. A mistake in regulation drill is a technical error you turn too early. A mistake in ceremonial drill, like dropping a flag during the national anthem or messing up a funeral detail, is not a technical error.
What is it then?
It is an insult.
Wow. That's a heavy distinction. You're not just breaking a rule, you're insulting what is being honored.
It carries moral weight. It signals that you didn't care enough to prepare. And then finally, you have the third category, exhibition drill.
The fancy stuff.
This is the spinning rifles, the complex choreography, the stuff you see in movies or competitions.
Fun stuff.
The fun stuff, yes. But the manual calls it controlled creativity. Its purpose is expression and mastery. This is the only form where the performer assumes responsibility for the design.
So you're the artist.
You are, but here is the risk. And the manual is very stern about this. It is not anything goes.
Right, I remember reading that just because it's exhibition doesn't mean you can just do whatever you want.
It actually requires higher discipline because the rules are self-imposed constraints. You are inventing the difficulty. But the danger and the source of so much failure in these programs is blurring these categories.
Can you give me an example of blurring? Because I feel like I've seen this happen.
Sure. Imagine a color guard at a solemn memorial service. That is a ceremonial context.
Right, very serious.
The focus should be on the flag and the occasion, but let's say the cadets decide to add a fancy spinning rifle toss from their exhibition routine because they think it looks cool.
Oof, yeah. I can picture that. It feels tacky.
It's worse than tacky. It's narcissistic. It destroys the legitimacy of the moment.
So?
It turns an act of honor into a performance about them. Look at me, look what I can do. The manual warns that mixing these categories destroys legitimacy. You have to know what game you are playing.
That transitions perfectly into the next big topic. Authority. Because if you're going to enforce these distinct categories, you need authority. But the manual makes a really interesting split between rank and authority. I think most people assume those are synonyms.
They are definitely not the same thing, and understanding the difference is critical for any organization. The distinction is this. Rank is status or tenure. It's a label on your collar.
All right.
Authority is function.
Okay. Unpack that for me.
Think about a specialized unit, like a medical team in the field. You might have a captain who outranks everyone, but if a medic who might be a lower rank says, "Stop, don't move him," the medic is in charge.
Right. In that moment, they know best.
In that specific function, the medic has authority over everyone else, even if the other people outrank them socially or organizationally.
So authority flows from the position and the mission, not just from who has been there the longest or who has the fanciest title.
Precisely. Authority is situational. And acknowledging that leads to the concept of the ethical shield.
The ethical shield.
This is one of my favorite parts of the manual because it solves the likability problem many new leaders face.
It sounds like a superhero gadget.
It acts like one. The idea is that standards protect the leader. If I correct you because you violated the written standard, it's not personal, it's not I don't like you.
It's just the rule.
It's the standard says X and you did Y. The standard shields me from the accusation of being a bully.
I see. So I'm not the bad guy. I'm just the messenger for the standard we both agreed to.
Exactly. But, and here's the catch, if I correct you just because I'm in a bad mood or because I want you to do it my way, even though the book says otherwise,
Then I've dropped the shield.
you've dropped the shield. Now it's just your ego versus their ego. And that is where leadership fails. The manual draws a heavy connection to Stoicism here. It says leaders must control themselves before they correct others. If you are screaming and losing your temper while trying to correct someone for moving in formation, you have already lost the moral high ground.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
You can't demand discipline while displaying a lack of it.
Exactly. To help leaders navigate this, the manual provides a 4-question ethical filter. It's a checklist for making decisions when the rule book is silent.
For the gray areas.
Yes, because let's face it, the manual can't cover every single scenario in the universe.
Right. You're in a situation, you don't know what to do. What are the 4 questions?
Question 1, does this align with established standards? That's the baseline.
Okay.
Question 2, does this serve the mission or the leader? That is the crucial distinction. Are you doing this because it helps the team or because it makes you look good or makes your life easier?
That's the gut check right there. Am I doing this for them or for me?
It is. Question 3, would this decision withstand transparent review? If you had to explain this decision to your boss or the parents or the public, could you do it without shame?
If the answer is, I hope nobody finds out, you already know the answer.
Exactly. And question 4, Does this protect cadet dignity?
Dignity seems to come up a lot in this text.
It is central, which brings us to the concept of custodianship versus ownership.
Ah, yes.
The manual argues that leaders are custodians, not owners. There is this dangerous myth that a new leader needs to come in and make the program their own.
We hear that all the time in business. I want to put my stamp on it.
And Marshall argues that is often ego talking. The goal of a leader is to preserve the institution for the next generation. It's a relay race, not a sprint.
A relay race.
Your job is to take the baton, run your leg without dropping it, and hand it off cleaner than you got it. If you try to hold on to the baton forever, or if you paint the baton a different color just because you like it, you're failing the race.
I love the relay race analogy. It takes the pressure off being the hero and puts the focus on being the steward. You're serving the baton, not yourself. But let's talk about the hard part of stewardship. Correction, feedback.
This is where the rubber meets the road.
The manual has a very strong stance on this. It basically says, avoiding correction is cruel, which feels counterintuitive because usually we think avoiding conflict is nice.
It reframes correction entirely. We tend to think that being nice means letting things slide. Oh, he tried hard, let it go.
Yeah, don't make waves.
The manual argues that avoidance teaches that standards are optional. If you see an error and say nothing, you have just endorsed that error. You have told that person, it is okay to be below standard.
That reminds me of the public versus private debate. I was always taught, praise in public, punish in private. That's the golden rule of management.
It is.
But the manual seems to poke some holes in that.
It calls it an oversimplification. The nuance is vital here. The manual argues that instructional errors must be corrected where they happen, which is often publicly.
Wait, so if I mess up a move in front of everyone, you should call me out in front of everyone. Does that humiliate me?
Not if the culture is set up correctly. If it's an instructional error, say, you stepped off on the left foot instead of the right, I have to correct it publicly.
Why?
Because if I don't stop you, 10 other people watching might think that is the correct foot. I have to correct you to protect the knowledge of the group.
Okay, that makes sense. It's not about shaming me. It's about accurate data for the group. Hey, stop. That was a wrong fit. Reset.
Exactly. The manual distinguishes between correction and humiliation. Public correction is education. Public humiliation is a failure of leadership.
Big difference.
If I say, stop, you're on the wrong foot, reset, that's education. If I say, stop, you're an idiot who can't walk, that's humiliation.
Huge difference. One attacks the action, the other attacks the person.
But, and this is the other side of the coin, disciplinary or character issues go private.
Right.
If you have an attitude problem or if you are willfully defiant, we don't have that conversation on the parade deck. We have that behind a closed door.
So technical stuff is public, behavioral stuff is private.
Generally, yes. And this leads to the feedback loop. The manual distinguishes critique from punishment.
Okay.
Critique identifies the gap between action and standard. Punishment addresses willful defiance. When leaders conflate them, when they punish honest mistakes, they destroy trust.
If I try my best and fail and you scream at me, I'm never going to try again.
Exactly, you're done. And the cycle the manual proposes is do, reflect, correct, reapply.
Reapplying.
And notice the last step, reapply. The host observed this in the notes correction must always end with another opportunity to perform. You can't just yell at someone and walk away.
You have to close the loop.
You have to let them fix it immediately. That's how confidence is rebuilt.
What about when the cadet or the employee pushes back?
Yeah.
When they get defensive. We've all seen that escalation.
The manual has a brilliant tactical rule here. Calm is a tactical advantage. When a subordinate escalates emotion, gets angry, cries, yells, the leader must de-escalate.
Do not match their energy.
Never match their energy. If they're at a 10, you need to be at a 2. And the technique the manual suggests is fascinating. Repeat the standard without over-explaining.
Over-explaining signals uncertainty. That hit me hard. I do that. When I feel awkward giving an order, I start babbling reasons.
It's a defense mechanism. We all do it. But it weakens you. If I tell you to do something and you argue and I start giving you a 5-minute speech about why I'm right, I've just entered a debate with you.
I've given them power.
You've lowered your authority. If I simply repeat the standard calmly, the standard is X, please comply, I am unshakable.
It's so simple, but so hard to do in the moment. It requires that emotional discipline we talked about earlier. Okay, let's move to section 5. Training systems. This is about how we actually get good at things.
Engineering excellence. The manual makes a distinction between training and activity. Just because everyone is moving and sweating doesn't mean training is happening.
Right.
You can sweat while practicing bad habits.
That brings up the "we'll fix it later" fallacy.
The most dangerous phrase in any organization. We'll clean that up later. The manual states clearly, later never comes. Deferred correction normalizes error.
So you're just reinforcing the mistake.
You're training your brain to do it wrong tomorrow.
So how do we fix that? The manual breaks down 3 modes of execution to prevent this drift.
This is the taxonomy of practice.
Yeah.
You have practice, rehearsal, and performance. Most failed teams confuse these.
Walk us through them. What's practice?
Practice is diagnostic. You stop and start often. It's focused on mechanics. If there's a mistake, you freeze, you fix it, you repeat it. It's choppy, it's boring, but it's where learning happens.
Okay, so that's the drilling part, the fundamentals.
Then you have rehearsal. This is different. Fewer stops. Focus on flow and consistency. You're trying to build stamina and continuity. You might let a small error slide to keep the momentum going.
You're connecting the pieces.
Right. And performance.
Game day.
Performance is execution without intervention. No stops. No one runs out to fix your collar. You have to deal with the reality of the run. The trap is that teams will perform during practice ignoring errors just to get through the routine because it feels good to finish.
And you're just going through the motions.
Or they will practice during performance panicking at the first mistake and trying to fix everything on the fly.
Right. You see this in sports, too. Teams that just scrimmage all the time but never do drills. Or teams that only do drills but crumble in the actual game.
Exactly. You need all 3 modes, and you need to know which mode you are in at any given moment. Are we fixing things, or are we running things?
And to keep all this straight, the manual talks about documentation as leadership insurance.
This connects back to custodianship. If the knowledge of how to run the team only lives in the leader's head, the program is a single point of failure.
Right. What happens if they leave?
If that leader gets sick or graduates or quits, the program collapses. You need written standard operating procedures, SOPs, pass-fail sheets, and training guides.
It creates institutional memory. The book survives the author.
It does, and it fights entropy. The manual actually uses the physics concept of negentropy.
Look at us getting into physics now. Marching, philosophy, and now thermodynamics.
It fits, though. Entropy is the natural tendency toward disorder. If you leave a garden alone, weeds grow.
Right.
If you leave a standard alone, it decays. Netropy is the active energy leaders must input to fight that decay. The manual calls this fighting drift.
Drift.
Standards don't fail loudly with a bang. They erode quietly. They drift a few inches at a time until they are gone.
That is such a vivid image.
Yeah.
The standard eroding quietly while no one is looking.
That's why the leader has to be the guardian. You have to constantly inject energy to keep the standard where it belongs.
So bringing this all together, we've talked about discipline as alignment, the different types of drill, the ethical shield of authority, the art of feedback, and the systems of training. But the manual ends with a focus on the future. The chapter is titled, "The Adult You Are Training."
This is the so what of the entire deep dive. Why does any of this matter?
Yeah.
Because you aren't just training a cadet to march in a circle. The manual reflects on the long-term impact, the habits learned at 16 habits, like avoiding accountability, hiding behind rank, or blaming others. Those habits calcify. They become adult traits.
It's scary to think about. If you let a 17-year-old leader be a bully, because kids will be kids, you're essentially training a future boss to be a bully.
Exactly. You are training a future parent, a future employee, a future citizen. If they learn that standards are optional now, they will believe laws are optional later.
Wow.
If they learn that authority is about service now, they will lead with service later. The drill pad is just the simulator for life.
It puts a huge responsibility on the adult mentors and the senior cadets. You aren't just managing a hobby, you're shaping character.
It does. The manual frames true leadership as service through consistency. Standards are not obstacles to happiness. They are the foundation of dignity.
Service through consistency. I like that. It's not flashy. It's not about being the charismatic hero on the mountain. It's about showing up every day and holding the line.
That brings us to the final provocative thought for the listener. The manual challenges leaders with this question. If you left your current leadership role today, walked out the door, and never came back, would the standards survive your absence?
That's the test.
If the standards collapse when you leave, you haven't led. You've only occupied the position. You've been a personality, not a builder.
Wow. That is a tough question to look in the mirror and answer. But that's what this manual is about. It's a mirror.
It is. It's a mirror that asks, are you building something that lasts, or are you just making noise?
John K. Marshall's Cadet Leadership Manual. Who knew a book about marching could go this deep?
Sometimes the deepest lessons are hidden in the most structured places.
Thanks for unpacking this with me. To our listeners, whether you're leading a platoon or a project team, take a look at your standards. Are they drifting? And are you acting as an owner or a custodian? Something to think about. We'll see you in the next deep dive.